Let's talk about inner child wounds. It's really important we heal these, we connect with our inner child so that we can connect with ourselves, connect with others, and through this process, eating automatically normalizes. When we're at peace within, the eating is peaceful too. But I want to take you back years ago when I first started therapy, when I didn't have any clue about what emotional inner child wounds were. I didn't think I even really had a problem. I was struggling with food. I was really lonely, isolated. I felt off, like I didn't belong. I knew I was off a little bit, and I didn't really feel like I belonged. But I still didn't think I had a problem. And I wouldn't have gone to therapy unless the lead counselor at Santa Clara University, Mrs. Quatman, unless she hadn't given me a freaking ultimatum to either switch programs or to see a therapist. And when she called me into her office about somewhere through the first or second quarter while in graduate school for counseling, and gave me this ultimatum, I was so angry, so pissed. I was so pissed because I had actually done a live therapy session in front of the class where I sat in front of Mrs. Quatman and the whole class was watching because we were in therapy school and we're learning how to be counselors. And so we talked and I shared this story to Mrs. Quatman in front of the class about me playing piano as a kid and how the only time I could remember being angry as a kid, my parents never yelled, I never yelled. The only time I can remember being angry was when I would slam on the keys. I'd have to practice piano every day, right? And I just slam on the keys. Bah, 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 bah. Gah, gah, gah. And I would slam on them for a long time. And no one would ever say anything. No one would ever say anything. But this little knowledge about how nobody ever said anything, nobody ever noticed me, this came through therapy. Because when I accepted her ultimatum, to go to therapy, I'd say, you know what, I do value this journey I'm on. I'm gonna still stay in the program. I'm gonna go to therapy. She said 3 months. And full disclosure, I'm still in therapy, still working with the same person because we really have done such amazing work together, and I just love it. I think therapy and coaching and getting third party perspectives is something I'll do my entire freaking life. It's amazing. Just because you have a coach or a therapist or whatever doesn't mean that you're failing. It means you're putting yourself first. You're helping yourself grow. You're investing in your long-term potential. And so one of the first lessons I start learning in therapy is that I played the piano and no one ever heard me. I was angry and no one ever heard me. Before therapy, I had this idea of my parents being perfect, being saintly, being great parents. And I'm not here to say they're bad parents. They're not. But they failed me in a really key regard. They didn't see me. They did not see me. And so I knew they loved me, but I didn't feel they loved me. And this lack, this is an inner wound right here. This is an inner wound. And before therapy, I had no idea I had this inner wound. Nowadays, I see very firmly, like, wow, that kid, me, when I was banging on a piano, He was in pain. But when I first started therapy, I said, no, that was not a painful moment. I said, no, I didn't need my parents to be seen. My parents didn't need to see me. They were busy. They put food on the table. They were working. Um, they didn't have the time to see me. So, so, so I learned to not pay attention to my need for belonging, for connection, for love, for to be seen, to have presence, to have someone empathize with me, to belong. I learned that didn't matter, and that if I wanted it, I was bad. I was weak, and so this childhood pattern was something I learned starting at birth, starting at a young age. And these inner wounds are there, but as a kid, we learned to adapt to them. I learned to adapt to a lack of love and attention by not needing it. And when I did need love and attention, I would chastise myself. I'd feel shame. I'd feel guilt. And I cut it off. I cut off my need for it. Basically, the pain and the shame of the guilt was actually worse than the other pain, so I could block it out. Now, this is all subconscious. Like, this took me a long time to kind of understand all this, how this was working. That I had these child patterns for love, security, rest, relaxation, play, joyfulness, intimacy, vulnerability. I had these needs, and I was up here thinking I was cut off from my inner child. I was thinking, I don't need those, not enough time, those don't matter. Sure, that'd be nice, but really doesn't matter. I was thinking. And of course, I haven't even talked about food yet. Thinking about food. Thinking about the right food. Thinking about staying healthy. Thinking about planning food. Just thinking. These thinking, like I think my thinking. And the opposite of this is the shame, right? The shame, the criticism. These cover up those unmet needs, those needs that your inner child had, those for love, all that stuff, for security, for these psychological defenses. They're defenses. That's what they are. That's what one of the things Freud became known for, is that we have these psychological defenses. We don't even know we have these defenses. And those are inner child wounds. And no matter how hard I tried to fit in with people, to belong, it never worked. Because the energy, the energy of love, I wasn't letting it in. I didn't know how. I was blocked. I was subconsciously blocking it out. Or if I did feel pain, it's about chastising myself. Go to food, block out the pain. Then swim around in guilt and shame for having done something. As I kind of ramble on right now, and we'll wrap up this video soon, the guilt from a binge, the shame from a binge, it distracts you from the lack of connection, right? The lack of connection to yourself. And it becomes your fault that you can't connect with yourself. It becomes the defense mechanisms in you block you from connecting with your inner child, with you. And then somehow the inner child feels guilty and thinks it's their fault for not being connected, but it was the defense mechanisms up here. It was the diet mentality. It was the, you know, the inner critic. The productivity mindset, right? This defense, productivity, diet, inner critic. This blocked the inner child from connection, not you. Not you. Although this is really tough to understand. Hopefully this is just an overview, sort of right now, about why people can miss the inner child, why people don't see their inner child, the wounds behind it. I know full well that I didn't know back in the day about my inner child wounds. So in a future video, we can cover how to connect with your inner child, other things. So let me know in a comment down below what you want to see, what questions you have. Love to talk about this more. So leave a comment down below with like the question or what you're curious about, and I'll make another video about that. Namaste.